Okay, good evening, everybody. It is May 30th, 2021. You're now watching Real Talk with Ronnie live. All right, everybody, welcome back. It is May 30th, 2021. You're now watching Real Talk with Ronnie live. Thanks for joining us tonight, especially on this on this weekend. It's a Memorial Day weekend. First of all, we want to give thanks to all the veterans and to all the men and women who gave their lives for our freedom, for our freedoms throughout our history, right? Throughout the history of our country, many brave souls have given their lives to ensure that we have the rights and the freedoms that we have today, including the right to not stand for the national anthem, which I think is disrespectful. But, you have that right to do that in this country. But I will say this here in the Republican Party, we will always stand and salute that flag each and every day, all day. All right. Before we begin our show tonight, I just want to say I'm very happy and proud to announce that my website for my campaign, as you guys know, I'm running for county commissioner here in Bergen County. And my website was launched a couple of days ago. And if you have the interest, please visit www.ronaldjosephlin.com. On my site, you'll find ways on how you can get involved and help. And most importantly, if you want, you can donate, right? Every single cent counts. Right here in Bergen County, I will be going up against a juggernaut Democrat machine, right? They've got a lot of money. And they're the incumbents, right? So as the challengers, we always have an uphill battle. But I think with the right messaging, with the right resources, and with the right candidates, we can make a difference this year, and we will win. All right, guys, my guest for tonight is a very special guest. He was actually supposed to be on a couple of weeks ago, but because of a last-minute change, we had to, push it back. So my guest tonight is Billy Prempeh. Billy Prempeh ran for Congress in 2020. He was the GOP nominee for Congress in NJCD 9 in the 9th district. He was the nominee. He was a first-time candidate, and he took the political world by storm. He grabbed that nomination, and then he really tore that race up. He had a great showing. I believe he had the best showing of a Republican in that district since ever. And he's going to run again next year. So he's a candidate for 2022 for the same district, District 9. So we're very happy today to have Billy Prempeh on our show. Hey, Billy, what's up, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, brother. And yourself?
Good, man. Thank you. So, Billy, wow. Where do I even begin? Last year, I caught wind of your campaign, and I went to your site, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a cool guy. He's running for Congress in District 9, which it's heavily Democratic, right? It covers the city of Patterson, right, and a lot of other cities that are, primarily full of Democrats, right? And I believe the incumbent there is Bill Pascrell. You guys ironically have the same two initials, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so it's kind of funny because even when I was a kid, people used to call me Little Pascrell. This was before I even knew who he really was. That just should kind of go to show you how long that he's been in politics. He's been involved for a very long time. So I think it's kind of ironic that we've got Bill Pascrell on the Democrat side and Billy Prempeh on the Republican side with two completely different views,
right? Yeah.
And two very fierce opponents. He's just not as fierce as I thought he would be at this point.
Right. Well, I mean, he's been in office for how many years?
He's going on 26 years.
26 years. So he's one of those career politicians that Trump was talking about.
Technically, if we wanted to be exact, it would be he's going on 26 years if he finishes his term in 22. But if you want to factor in his entire political career, we're talking about 40 plus years. He's been involved in politics literally his entire life. Right. That's practically all he knows.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, let's get back to that in a bit. So I want to talk about you, Billy. So Billy, you're from Patterson, right? You grew up in Patterson. You were born and raised in Patterson, right?
Yeah. When my parents came to this country, we lived in Fairlawn for about 3 years. Was born in St. Joseph's Hospital in Patterson, and we moved to Patterson when I was 3. And I lived in Patterson my entire life ever since then.
Wow. So you also lived for a period in Fairlawn.
Yeah, only till I was 3. I don't remember any of it. Just my
Okay.
parents' wedding, that's
Right.
about
Yeah.
it.
No, that's cool because I grew up in Fairlawn, and I think we spoke about this, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting too because I was actually born in Patterson. I was born in St. Joseph's Hospital. I think you also, right?
Yes, sir.
So we've
Joseph
actually got a lot of time. We got a lot in common, right? Born in the same hospital, grew up for a bit in the same town, and now we're both running for office, right?
who would have knew? Who would have knew?
Yeah. So Billy, your parents came to the U.S. in the 1980s, right? They came from Ghana, right?
Yes. They came at separate times, but they came to the United States during the 80s.
Okay.
They came to the United States because they wanted to have a better life. They wanted to provide something for us that wasn't necessarily available to them while they were in Ghana.
Right.
My parents, they actually met while they were in the United Kingdom. Prior to them coming to the United States, they fell in love in England.
Oh, really?
And yeah, my mother saved up. She worked really hard while she was in the United Kingdom. And she was so this is just to kind of give some clarity, because there's some people out there that think that I'm not really a first generation American. So give some clarity. How did your mother become a citizen? Here's what happened. My mother was initially married to an American. It didn't necessarily work out.
Okay.
But this American lived in England at the time. Didn't necessarily work out. The two of them broke up. But at this point, they'd been together so long, she was already a citizen at this point. When she met my father, he came from Ghana to the United Kingdom. They met. They fell in love over there. They moved to the United States. They got married in the United States. So yes, my parents 100% came to the United States legally. They went through the process legally. Every one of my 14 relatives that came to the country, they all went through it. They all filed their paperwork. They all waited 14, some of them 17 years to get in here, swear an oath, become a United States citizen, and do it the absolute right way, which is why I find it very disrespectful. A lot of people in my family find it very disrespectful. A lot of people that have come to this country legally find it extremely disrespectful that we see the Democrats and the left that are advocating for the border to be wide open, to allow literally anybody to walk right in, while parents like parents and families like mine have done quite a bit to sacrifice the opportunity to come into the United States. While I will agree the system does need to be streamlined, it does need to be fixed, because 14, 17 years is ludicrous. You're practically an adult by the time you come into the country if you applied the second you were born. So I understand and I agree the system needs to be streamlined. However, I don't think there should be a system where anybody could just walk in and grant amnesty simply because of situations. My parents had a situation. They worked hard. They worked extremely hard. And, to be fair, if we didn't bring everybody to the United States, I probably would have went to college instead of the United States Air Force. But at the end of the day, I'm still very proud of everything that my family did. I'm proud that I had the opportunity to go and serve my country. It's the least that I could actually do. I mean, first time being in this country, first person actually reap the benefits from my family's bloodline. So I felt like it was appropriate. But that's a little bit of a background to, some of the people that are naysayers as to how my parents actually got into this country. But that's how.
Right. Wow. So let me get this straight. Your mom, so your parents are both from Ghana, right?
Yes.
So your mom went to Ghana first. Oh, sorry. Your mom came from Ghana to the UK, where she had met a American citizen there and got married there, right? So through that first dude, she became a U.S. citizen.
Correct.
For some reason, it didn't work out, and then your dad came in, and then that's when they met and fell in love. So they got married in the UK, or did they get married
in the United States?
Okay, so they immigrated.
My mother was already a citizen by the time they got married.
Okay, all right, great. Yeah. So, but I think the point is that your parents got their citizenship the legal way, right? The right way. They went through the process.
And let me add a little bit more perspective here, because I think this is really going to give people some insight as to why the United States is a great country and why I believe it's one of the greatest places in the world. You're never going to be able to have a country that offers the opportunity like this. So to give you guys some background as to what went on with my mother's father, my grandfather, I should say, when he was alive, he had one of the largest cocoa plantations in Ghana, right? So my mother grew up quite wealthy while they were there. However, when her father passed away, he wrote a will, and he wrote this will that basically gave everything that that gave everything that my mother's family had, I should say, to their stepbrothers and stepsisters that they didn't even know existed. They didn't even know they were alive, but the father kind of, I guess, last minute guilt, I don't know what it was, wrote a will giving everything to them. So my parents, my mother, my grandmother, my grandmother, my 4 uncles and their kids, essentially, I should say. So they were not able to stay on the compound where they lived anymore. So they had to move out, and they could only afford this little kitchen that they had in someone else's. It was like a restaurant or something like that. It was like an abandoned kitchen they weren't using. They cleared it out, put up bunk beds, and they lived in there for many years. Now, while this was going on, when my mother turned 18, she sold the little things that she had, the little pieces of jewelry, garments, everything she had, and she purchased 2 tickets to the United Kingdom. So how did she get into the United Kingdom? So it's a little bit of backstory. Ghana used to be under the control of the United Kingdom. You know, the United Kingdom, Ghana eventually gained its independence in the 50s from the United Kingdom. And there's a mutual kind of bond with the United Kingdom, similar to how Jamaica and the United Kingdom has kind of a bond. So it wasn't difficult to transit between the two countries. So she initially bought this ticket for herself and for her older brother to go and work and try and help get our family out of this situation. So the initial goal was to go to England. They went to England in this is shortly after the recession in the 70s. The economy wasn't doing good in England. England was really doing bad. They were about to go and then, start moving into the 80s. They're about to go and bomb the Falkland Islands, and Ronald Reagan's coming up, and holy crap, America's got to be the place. At this point, my mother's already been with her ex. They've already separated and not together. My father, Reagan seems pretty cool. America seems like a great place to go. And I think America is the way forward. And, my mother, she worked for about 6 years in the United Kingdom. She dormed with a couple of her friends. She saved everything that she had, and she saved the equivalent of about $20,000 or $30,000 over the course of 5 years, in today's money, I should say, and used that to put a down payment on our home on 26th Street. But we didn't know about this until I was about 3. When my mother brings my father to the United States, she tells him, hey, I had some money that I put to the side, because he didn't know how he was going to, provide at this point. My mother was already a citizen. He's coming in. She's like, listen, I got some money together. We're going to use this to put a down payment on a home. Put that down payment as a home, and over the course of my life, by the time it wasn't until I was 12 that I knew that I had all this family in Ghana and that there were all these relatives, and then how my bloodline worked. And I didn't know all these things until I was 12. That's when I first started to get and see my cousins, and they started to first come here. So this process was started, when I was like an infant. Just to kind of give you an idea of what needs to be done just to get into this country and how hard you have to work to get here. By the time I was 14, just all my 2 stepbrothers, 2 stepbrothers, 2 stepsisters, my father's side, a cousin, an uncle, my grandmother, stepbrother, 2 cousins, 3 cousins, 4 cousins that all came to the United States. All of them came through legally. We all came through this family. We all did this the right way. They're all working hard. They're all proud to be in this country. All right. So, so that's a little bit of clarity. There's a lot that this country can offer that you can't get in places like Canada, in the United Kingdom, or in Australia. The United States is great, and it's great for a reason. Ironically, my parents wanted to come to this country under one of the greatest Republican presidents of all time, and here I am. I'm thriving under, who we just had as who I believe the best president of my lifetime, to be running in office. And I'm proud to be running again. And I hope to preserve and bring back that life, that opportunity, that American dream that my parents strived for. I hope to bring that to our country in 2022.
Yeah, and Billy, well, first of all, I want to say thank you for serving our country. I believe you joined the Air Force at the age of 18, right?
Yeah.
At the age of 18. So while other kids that age were off going to college and partying and having a great time, you were defending our rights and our freedom abroad.
I turned 19 when I was in boot camp, actually. So that wasn't as fun as it could have been. They sung happy birthday. All right, now everybody on your face. It's not fun anymore, right? There goes, it's kind of just back to what it was. But I felt like it was the best thing that I could do, and I felt like it was the appropriate thing to do to give back to my country. Although while I was in the military, I was not happy with the direction our country was going in and what Barack Obama did in the Middle East, the lies that were being told to our country, the lies that were being told to our troops, and the atrocities that he had us doing. A lot of those things I didn't want to deal with anymore, and I requested to leave the military in 2011 because I signed up to defend the Constitution. I didn't sign up to go and fund, moderate rebels and funnel gas through Syria into that's not what I signed up for. And that's why I was very, very happy to cast my vote much later on for Donald Trump in 2016, because he was one of the few people that actually called out what was going on in the Middle East for what it really was. He's the only person that called out the fractional reserve bank as being one of the biggest economic issues that our country faces. He called out a lot of things that the only other candidate I saw talking about this was Ron Paul. And I hated this guy my whole entire life. I was never a fan of Donald Trump up until
Donald Trump, okay. right?
Yeah, I hated Donald Trump. My father thought he was one of the coolest guys in the world. You know, he had all his books. He had like he thought
Right.
I didn't like him. My father
Yeah,
used to work.
it's kind of funny. I think a lot of people on their first impression didn't like Donald Trump because I know that my parents, when they first knew of Donald Trump, like back in the 80s and the 90s, they didn't really like him because they thought he was just like this, showman, this playboy showman. And, but then it wasn't until after they heard him speak on the campaign trail that they liked what he had to say.
Yeah.
And actually, it's kind of funny, too, because if you look at Donald Trump's clips from back in the, in the 80s or like the early 90s, he's actually been pushing the same policies then, right?
Oh yeah.
He's been saying for the past 30, 40 years that our country has been getting ripped off, that so I mean all the themes that he talked about on the campaign trail, he's been talking about it for the past 30, 40 years. So he's one consistent guy.
Yeah, and he certainly won me over there, and it's what kind of it's what led me to actually get involved in politics. Growing up in life, out here, it's funny. It's like whenever there's like some kind of political situation, right, and there's something issue going on or whatever in the news, literally everybody, or at least the friends that I know here in Patterson, always like, yo, go and talk to Bill, or go and ask Bill first, because Bill probably has like some kind of idea as to what's going on. So people would always say, Bill, you should be a politician, you should get into politics. I hate politics. I never wanted to be a politician. I never thought that I'd ever be involved in politics or getting into it. But then
when I say this, for someone who hates politics and hates being a politician, you're doing pretty damn good.
well, see, because here's the thing, though. This is the reason why I hate politics. Is you got to tread carefully, right, on a lot of these lines in politics, right? And the issue is these lines that we're treading on are the reason why problems are as they exist. There are a lot of problems that are very clear as day that people could very easily see, yet nobody says or does anything about it because, you don't want to upset that person. You don't want to tip that boat. You don't want to mess up that program. So, and a lot of this stuff could actually be resolved. I have nothing to gain. I don't care to gain anything from this, but one thing's for certain is when places like mine, like my community, get affected by a lot of these policies. Our city, for example, Patterson, is just a small part of the district. Despite that, there's 35% of the voters come out of the city. This city has constantly been abused and misused by the Democratic Party for well over 40 years. The problems aren't coming from the Democrats. It's not coming from the conservatives. Heck, I would even go as far as to say that it's not even coming from the politicians themselves, because they're just people at the end of the day. But a lot of the ideologies and the policies that these people push, and some of them are probably well-meaning people, a lot of the policies that they push tend to harm us. They harm us, right? It sounds like a good idea to defund the police because of everything that's going on television and that stuff. But then now you got, violent crime through the roof. Last year, 60% is through the roof up here in Patterson. All across the district, we see people, shooting drugs and doing whatever the case may be. And there's no one really there to help resolve these issues or help people get the resources that they need, or any job programs to help a lot of these homeless people, mental health issues. A lot of these things aren't put on the table. These things are very easy to fix, but when there's deals that affect people, it makes it hard to actually get the job done. So I felt the best thing that I could possibly do was like, well, listen, if I'm willing to go out and speak and say these kinds of things that no one else is willing to say, and people are willing to listen, then okay, I'll do it. And after much convincing from Dr. Hector Castillo, he said, listen, I really, really do believe you have what it takes. And I decided to just throw my hat in the ring and get involved in the political sphere. And I started to notice that when I started to speak, and I don't think people understand how insecure, how terrified, how I was thinking people were going to shoot me in the head. Okay. Going to Passaic County, to Bergen County BCRO was the first time I'd ever been. I knew about Republicans. I knew I was Republican at this point, but it was the first time I'd ever been like in a group of Republicans, I'm saying, like all Republicans, no Democrats.
Really. So let me just back up for a second. So I want to go back to last year, or to the moment that you decided, hey, you know what? I'm sick and tired of talking about politics. I'm sick and tired of talking about wanting to change. Let me actually do something to make that change. So what was the exact moment where you thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to run for office, and not just for any office. I'm going to run for Congress for CD9 in New Jersey.
I think it was more like a course of days where it happened. But initially, I would say the main catalyst would be the Trump rally in January 20th of last year.
Was that the first Trump rally you've ever been to?
It's the first political rally, period, I've been to. And
so that rally was where?
This was in Wildwood, New Jersey.
Okay, so at some point, you thought to yourself, well, I keep on seeing, Trump on TV, right? Let me go see him at one of his rallies to see
Well,
what it's all about. And then you went, right?
at this point, I already voted for Trump in 2016. There were some things he said in 2015 that kind of pushed me over the edge to say, let me vote for him. And then by the time 2020 came around, I was like, this guy is a G. Everything he said he's going to do, he did it. I've never seen any politician straight up say, I'm going to do this, whether people like it or not. I am going to do this. And he did it. Not only that,
kept, right?
Oh yeah. Not only that, this guy came to New Jersey, of all places, a super blue state, and I get it. There were some people that probably came from Pennsylvania and other places. I get it, but that's besides the point. You're telling me this guy came to New Jersey in a freezing cold day, right near the ocean. People are standing out there camping out an entire day in advance. About 120,000 people show up. And you pull this off? I'm thinking people always talk about how great Reagan was and Reagan did all this stuff. I wasn't alive for that. But then people that were alive for that are like, man, Reagan didn't even do stuff like this. Right, so to see this in New Jersey.
Dude, look, I was named after Reagan, and I'll be the first to say that in my thing, Trump's Reagan.
Yeah, and being at that being at that event, I was speaking with several groups and news agencies, just talking. I had no intention of really anything of it. I'm just like, hey, I'm a Trump guy here, and I'm talking. And the entire time, Dr. Castillo, who ran for Congress in District 5, he was next to me the entire time.
How did you know him?
I didn't. I honestly didn't know him. Yeah, that was literally the first day that I met Dr. Castillo.
So you guys were both at a Trump rally.
Yeah.
And you didn't know each other.
No, I rode down from Patterson with him. So here's what happened.
Okay.
My friend Randy, me and him were supposed to go. He was one of the other guys in Patterson. They're like, yo, bro, Trump, we got to go. And he had to work that day. He wasn't able to make it, but he was like, call Dr. Castillo. He's with the Republican National Hispanic Assembly. He was like, he's the doctor in Patterson. I'm like, Dr. Him? I wouldn't, because you've seen his name your whole life. I'm like, wow, he's a Trump guy? Okay, cool. So I go to his office, meet with him. And, I didn't really speak much with him in the car because he's just like, okay, Hispanic group, random black dude.
You two in the car?
No, it's me, him, and a couple of other members that were a part of the Hispanic Republican group.
Was it kind of awkward first? It was like an awkward car ride, right?
It wasn't awkward for me because I'll ride with anybody. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna embarrass me. But with them, they kind of just were like, yeah, well, random black dude, maybe he's curious. I don't know. It just was, but whatever. He's got a Trump hat. He's with us. They were cool. So, we get out there, and while I'm talking, the doctor pulls me to the side and he's like, hey, Bill, he asked me, what are you doing? I'm like, I sell cell phones for T-Mobile. I was working at T-Mobile at the time. And he's like, well, why don't you, he was like, I think you should run for Congress. I think you'll do really good in Congress. And immediately I was terrified. I didn't want to get involved with it because I'm like, I don't want to be in politics. And he started telling me like, no, Billy, you see in 2016, he starts telling me about how he ran, how his numbers went. And he started breaking down exactly, what the demographics were in Patterson, which I knew, but I never really thought to think of it politically and see exactly what's happening. And when he told me about how many unaffiliated voters there actually were in the district,
and that's what are there.
So to give you a perspective, right? A lot of people will tell you this district will never go red. It's a flat out 3 million% lie. Anybody that tells you that does not want to win. If they have an R next to their name and they tell you that, they don't want to win and they're lying to you. This district can flip red 100% and I'll prove it to you. It's 202,000 registered Democrats. This is based on 2002 numbers, right? 202,000 something registered Democrats, 69,300 and something registered Republicans, but there's 179,000 plus unaffiliated voters. So by those numbers, do you think the Republican Party has been working in this area effectively?
Right. So, the number of unaffiliated voters almost equals the number of Democratic voters, right?
Correct.
So there's a huge chunk. Yep.
Correct. Do you believe the Republican Party was actually doing any of the work? Let's be honest here. So the truth is the truth is about this area is like, this is an area that has been neglected along with a lot of areas like Essex, for example, Camden, Irvington, Belmar, Belleville, a lot of these inner cities, what I literally try and hammer home to a lot of people. And it was a doctor who hammered this home to me. And like, when I started to really see the numbers and see what's up, the average unaffiliated voter leans conservative. That's a fact. I'll prove it to you. You know why? Because if they wanted to be Democrat, they'd be Democrat. Instead, they're unaffiliated. Why? Oh, I don't trust the Republican Party. But where are they getting that information from? They're not getting it from Republicans because there's no Republicans there anyway.
They get it from the media, which is actually controlled by the
which is exactly why we need more Republicans in the inner cities. Because if all the people are in the inner cities and all these unaffiliated voters definitely don't want to deal with the Democrats, they're not Republicans because there are no Republicans. There's no Republicans doing the work.
Right.
We got to go in there. We flip every single one of these inner cities. I promise you, this state will never go blue ever again, because we've been blue for over 40 years. So going out and going and fighting these fights, he told me straight up, this is going to be a hard fight. In the 9th district, it's going to be a tough fight. This guy's been here 25 years. He's got all the machine power in the world behind him, but I believe he can take it. When I ran, I was able to get the Hispanic vote. I was able to, galvanize a lot of unaffiliated voters. But you, on the other hand, can do what I can't do. You can get the younger vote. You can get the black vote. You can get a lot of people together behind your message. And I hear the way you speak. And at this point, I'm thinking I'm just some dude with dreadlocks from the middle of Patterson. What am I going to do? How am I going to talk to people in Bergen? How am I going to talk to all these areas? When I realized at the end of the day, it's a job somebody has to do. Somebody has to do it. And it's not just about winning and getting the title and being the congressman. These are problems that genuinely, absolutely need to be fixed. If we intend on saving our state, because if our state, continues to go down this path, what future do we got? We got people leaving the state. People that were already getting gouged with high prices in New York are now moving into our state, and they're only driving the prices up for us. And now they're pushing us out of here. So we have to fight the fights that people were unwilling to fight. And when I saw that over the course of a week of him constantly telling me, think about it, I decided, you know what, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and I'm going to do what I've never done before. And I'm glad that I did. Because right. I've met people I never thought I'd be really good friends with, people like you, for example. I've made really good allies, and a lot of great things have happened since I've been involved. And the truth is, I've noticed that a lot of people resonate with what I have to say, because it's something that I believe a lot of people truly feel at the bottom of their hearts is true and is what they want to do. But the media has kind of put a lot of conservatives and even people in the middle and even some on the left in such a position where they're pigeonholed to believe or subscribe to a certain identity or a certain belief, or if they say anything else, they'll be looked at differently. Right. The truth is, you could say it if you believe that's what this Constitution grants, and we got to uphold that if we want to keep our country.
Right, but in today's politics, especially under democratic rule, with cancel culture and everything going on, freedom of speech is literally being threatened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So would you say that car ride that you had with Dr. Castillo was pretty much the car ride that changed your life?
Yeah. I guess you could say that. I mean, not much happened. They were just like telling jokes in Spanish. And
but I mean, that car ride was kind of like the catalyst that set everything.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure on that car ride you also got to learn more Spanish, right? So it kind of helped you.
Well, I understand Spanish. I understand more Spanish than I can speak. Yeah, okay, great. I can speak it, but not as well as I understand it. Yeah.
All right. So that car ride, Dr. Castillo, he kind of implanted that seed in your head, right? It was it was like the first instance where he mentioned, maybe you should run for office. So you thought about it, and it wasn't until like a couple of weeks later that you decided to kind of plunge in, right?
It was about maybe a week from that day, but every day I spoke with the doctor, and he's like, yo, I think you should do this. And after I shook his hand, like I'm initially like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And I didn't know if I was certain until maybe a week later. And I said, all right. And he kept calling me like, are you sure you want to do this? I think you should do this. And really, you should do it. Like I see something in you. Like he really saw something in me that, like kind of like when you're like on the wrestling team, or you got that one coach that sees something in you that you just don't see. He saw something, and I decided to jump on in.
Okay. So then let's fast forward to the night you had to go to BCRO to give your political speech to a Bergen County crowd, which is decidedly the demographic in Bergen County is a lot different than Patterson, right? So, I mean, to be blunt, you're a black dude speaking to like a room full of white guys, right? Were you like, I don't know, like, were you nervous?
I wasn't. It's not that I was necessarily nervous. I was really overwhelmed, I guess you could probably say, because like I've never spoken to a room. It wasn't even the fact that there were white people. I didn't even think about that. The only thing I was thinking of was, wow, there's a lot of people in this room, and
it was pre-COVID, right? So the room was packed, right?
No, COVID happened, but it wasn't like let's shut the country down at this point. This was like March or something like that.
Okay.
About a week after that, or about a week or two after that, that's when COVID when it actually shut down. But at that point, no, it was just a bunch of people, and I was like, wow. wow, like I felt like, I don't know if you've seen that movie 8 Mile with Eminem, where he gets up there and does that freestyle and he just chokes and like everyone's looking at him like you're a fool, get off the stage.
Did you go to the bathroom first to throw up?
I felt like I should have, but no. I was really nervous at first, but I kind of went up there and I spoke. I told a little bit kind of what I told you here today about my parents, and I said, that's really why I'm running, man. This is what it's about. It's like I feel like, for my parents, even if had my parents came, like, I don't know, to what, 50, maybe more than that, let's say 100 years prior to them being in this country, that opportunity would have been a little bit different for me. It would have been a lot harder. It would have been a lot more obstacles for me to jump through, and it'd been tough. But to see how quickly things have changed, like, look, you got a black dude from one of the most hardest parts of the inner city, with dreadlocks, running as a Republican in an area with a whole bunch of people of different races who don't care about the race. They just care about the fact that, wow, I love his message. That guy needs to win. Let's back him up. There's a bunch of white people, Asian people, black people, Spanish, all across the globe, Indian people, Arabic people that are like, Billy's the guy, or this candidate's the guy. A lot of our parents didn't have that opportunity, and
I think that's the beauty of our country, and that's the beauty of this party, right? So for all the people that say that the Republican Party is not inclusive, right? And I think they don't know what they're talking about, because I mean, look at you and look at me, right? We're both running for office under the GOP banner. And we're accepted, but it's not about our race or our ethnic background or anything, right? I think we're accepted because people like what we have to say. They like our messaging. Our messaging makes sense. If a message makes sense, I think anybody, despite your color, creed, race, or gender, will come aboard.
Yeah, none of that. All that stuff's kind of irrelevant to me. I don't focus on any of that kind of stuff.
Democrats, the identity politics is their bread and butter. That's how they win.
You see, but that's exactly why my opponent avoids me at all costs, because that's all he's got. Every race he's ran before in the back. I've been a champion for black people. I've been a champion for Spanish people. I support the Asians, and I support, it's always these groups, but it's never about the 9th district. It's never about New Jersey. It's never about the United States as a whole. It's always about some little tiny clique. Try that with a black guy that's living in one of the toughest parts in your district, in the city that you supposedly live in, that nobody ever sees you in. Try telling me that he can't. And he'll never tell me that. You can't race bait. It's not going to work. I live under your policies, So different situation for him.
Celeste, 2 of my favorite candidates. Keep up your efforts, gentlemen. Thank you, Celeste.
Thank you,
You're
Celeste.
one of my favorite people. I love you, Celeste. Yeah. So okay. So now you're at the BCRO. You're giving this speech. Did you bring your mom with you, or your family members, or
I brought my mom and my aunt. So my mom she came with me, and my aunt came. I had no intention of actually speaking about them. I had a whole entire speech prepared and everything, but I don't know, it just felt appropriate to just talk about what the journey that they went through, like what they sacrificed to actually get me into this point. And this was just a screening speech to kind of just get the idea across, so that this person was running, and it's what felt appropriate at the time. Looking back at it, I probably would have talked a little bit more about my platform, but I think it was still important to talk about all that, because it's important.
Oh yeah, I think that's important. I mean, it's your first time. It's kind of like your coming out party, right? You're coming out.
That's kind of what the event necessarily was. Like,
so you want to introduce yourself and your family background to Bergen County.
Right. That's essentially what it was.
Yeah. So that was, I think, probably around February, right?
No, like March. That was like March, like early March or something like that.
Right. And then you didn't officially get the line until I want to say April, right?
I got the line. I don't know if you want to get into the whole line thing, but I got the line.
Let's just skip the line. But say that
I got the line.
Right. You got the nomination officially in
Bergen
June.
and Bergen and Passaic. Yes, officially, yes.
Right. Okay, so once you got the nomination, it was full speed ahead, right? Yeah. So can you describe to us your, how you campaigned and that whole whirlwind process?
Put it like this. When I was running in this race, about 2 or 3 months into this race, when COVID happened and everything shut down, and I started calling people for help, within the. You really want to talk about this?
Well, I mean, I just want. Why? Is it quite sensitive?
It's gonna piss a lot of people off. So I don't think it's a good idea we talk about it.
Why don't we just talk about the parts that's not gonna piss people off? Let's talk about the good parts, the heartwarming parts of the campaigning season.
Well, so for the first 3 months or so, let me simplify it then. So for the first 3 months or so, it was extremely tough. Maybe the first 5 months, I'd say. It was extremely tough. I was doing literally everything by myself, making the phone calls. I built the website myself, did the ads myself, built the Facebook myself, was marketing, promoting everything myself.
Were you doing this while still working at
I was working full time as well too. So I was working full time. COVID thing going on as well too. I'm collecting signatures. I'm knocking doors.
The people at T-Mobile, it's a big corporation, and I'm guessing it's probably liberal too, right? Did they have any problems with you running for Congress as they?
For one, I don't care what T-Mobile thinks. And number two, at the time, it was Sprint, and all my literally everybody that I worked with loved my platform. They agreed with what I said, and they were like, "No, bro, like you really got this." Like, so I really, and for all of my people that worked with me at Sprint and T-Mobile, I want to say, God bless you all. Thank you guys all for being so understanding and helping me and guiding me through this entire process. So they were very helpful with me. I mean, liberal or not, it wasn't going to stop me. Put it like that. Regardless of what was going to happen, win or lose, like my job was not going to stop me from doing what I've done. When I set my mind on something, my mind is set, and you're going to have to shoot me in the leg for me to stop. Don't shoot me in the leg. I don't want that to happen. But yeah. So it's the race was very it was extremely stressful at first because I kind of had to figure things out. I had to figure out how to file with the FEC, how to use the software, how to everything, bro. Everything you could think of with a congressional campaign. Right. From reaching out to people to knocking the doors, everything. I did it all by myself the first 4.5 weeks. It wasn't until about August or so, you met my friend Mickey Yasso. I met him, and
Mike's great guy.
We did a live stream. He really resonated with my message, and he was like, "Bro, how are you doing?" He thought that I had a whole team with me. He was like, "You're doing this all by yourself?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he invited me to his place. We kind of sat down. He introduced me to some of his friends, and we kind of built a team that week. And then within the following month, we had some really good people. Eli Moalem, I ran into him. He came and started running the campaign. We had a guy, Tim, I can't remember what his last name is, but he probably hates me now. It doesn't matter. Guy, Danny DeMarco, he was a great guy. He helped us quite a bit with putting signs out and stuff and getting Danny, a lot of events.
Danny came on, I believe, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, he doesn't like me very much anymore, but that's okay. But he went out. He, set up a whole bunch of park events for us. He did a lot of really good stuff for the campaign, and we really started to come together. We just started hammering that message out, and I started to learn that a lot of the stuff that I've done in my past. So I used to work with several marketing companies before I ended up working with T-Mobile and Sprint, and I said, you know what? Let me try and use some of the stuff that I used for other companies on myself. And I tried to do that politically. I couldn't afford marketing firms or any of that kind of stuff. And I just started doing that. And since I wasn't able to get out, my thought process was, use social media to my advantage. Everybody's in the house. Everybody's got their cell phone. Everybody's got their computer. These guys are still spending millions of dollars on mailers. Let me just use the internet. And it worked extremely, 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 extremely effectively. And a lot of people resonated with it. So once that started to really take off steam, I kind of just kept pushing my message out. And I noticed, listen, if I'm not going to really kind of have that much of an opportunity within my own district, and have to go across the state. And I've kind of got a mentality. I've got a belief that I think works really well. Is like if you're running for council, run like you're running for mayor. If you're running for mayor, run like you're running for Congress. If you're running for Congress, run like you're running for governor. You're running for governor, run like you're running for president. The reason why I believe that is because you're representing not just the people within your district, but you also don't know who you're going to know or who you're going to meet or what influence you're going to have with someone else who can be an ally, who can help get you to the next level. And by doing that, going to different events and speaking with other people and helping other candidates and getting that message out, there were a lot of people who at the very last minute galvanized and just really helped take things to the next levels. Tim Pool reached out to me. We had a really good show that really helped us with raising funds, getting the message out. And I began to realize that it's like, this is much bigger than the 9th District. America really has a big problem on his hands, and there's a lot of people that are very sick and tired of what's going on. And if there's people out there that want to help get that message out, then we got to coalesce all that and bring that help into districts like mine and help flip it. Because if it can't be done from within, we can bring the outside in and turn this place red.
Okay. So Billy, you're running again now for Congress in 2022 for the same district.
Mm-hmm.
What lessons have you learned during your past run that you think you can bring over to this new run that you can hopefully put into use to make this run better and more effective?
Work way harder.
Okay.
Work way harder. I feel like there was a lot of things I could have done differently, and I could have put a lot more effort in a lot of other things we still did really, really well. And to be honest, we did way better than I thought that I was initially going to do. Right. But I feel like if we worked even a lot harder, if we got a lot more things done, and even with the short period of time, and had I known about all this and I ran in 2019, I believe we would have won in 2020.
Right. Hindsight is key, right? I mean,
but it's all right. It was a very, very good learning experience, and I'm glad that things panned out the way that it did, because I was forced to figure it all out. And really genuine, awesome, great people from all walks of life who saw the situation came in and helped me and gave me whatever they had or gave me the resources or information to get to the next level to actually figure it out. The advice that I would give people is find genuine, true people that really want to help you, that really care about what you want to bring to the table or the community that you're trying to represent. If they genuinely care about you, these are the people you got to draw close to and work with these people. There's a lot of people that want to be in your circle and get close to you or even do certain things because they want a job or they're expecting some kind of handout or there's something for them to gain when it's all said and done when you get out of office. I say don't even associate with yourself with those kinds of people. Outcast those people. Those people don't care about your community. They don't care about your what you want to say. They don't care about any of that stuff, right? There's a lot of people in politics that are in this for titles, that are in this for jobs, and that are in this for money. I'm in this because our community deserves better, our state deserves better, our country deserves better. When our city falls apart and our state falls apart, we got no one to blame but ourselves. And we have to actually get out there and vote, pay attention to our politicians, get in the faces of people and get our message across, because we can't play a safety net anymore, for lack of a better word, because at the end of the day, the people we're up against, the Democrats aren't even Democrats no more. The Democrats that are like foundational Democrats don't even recognize today's Democrats. They're not even progressives anymore. They're 100% Marxists. These people are extreme. They go off the wall. They'll burn down your buildings. They'll burn your police department. They'll try and create their own country. They'll do whatever they want. I mean, heck, George Floyd just got killed not too long ago. They had the George Floyd Plaza. Everybody's kneeling on their knee. They're giving speeches about defunding police. And while they're live on TV, there's a shootout. You know what I mean? It's like these people are pushing a very, very different kind of agenda, right? They're pushing a very, very different kind of agenda. And we got to push back against that. Right. We got to push back against that or else we're done.
All right. So, Billy, what do you say to, because like you said, there's actually a lot of people in the inner city that identify with the GOP and with the messaging on our side, right? What do you say to those people in the inner city, right, that want to get involved with a GOP campaign or with the GOP, but might feel threatened or pressured or scapegoated into not doing so? What is your message for those people?
I've got a better answer. I think the more important question isn't for the people in the inner city. The better question should be for the GOP that's listening to this about what to do in the inner cities, because even the way you frame that question, I think you've kind of got it a little bit messed up. What do you say to the people that want to come out? Well, if we're having this discussion, that implies that there's people in the inner city that are conservative, correct? Okay. So the question is not how do they come out? How do we go to them?
How do we grab them out? Right? Yeah,
that's the real problem. See, that's the issue that I'm talking about. It's like the GOP looks at it like, well, the Republicans will come to us if we just keep talking and being the high and tight. If we be down the middle as much as possible, if we be as moderate as possible, we'll eventually pick them up. No, they exist.
And I think you actually make a very good point. I think the reason why a lot of the inner city people, right, flock towards the Democrats is because the Democrats flock towards them. They go to them. They have good marketing, and they reach out to them, right?
Yeah.
And the Republican Party needs to do a lot better.
It's like put it like this. It's like put it like this.
Right.
You go to the immigration stations, right? You go to any immigration station, right? Go to 401 Grand Street, for example, in Patterson, right? People finish sworn in, citizen paperwork, whatever. You're gonna find some kind of Democrat operative somewhere within that building or somewhere within that vicinity. And what are they doing? Hey, are you registered to vote? Have you heard about the Democratic Party and what we're going to do for you? No, we're the Republicans talking about what we're going to do. What are we talking? Where are we talking about the conservative values? Remember why you came to America. Let me tell you about the Constitution. Let me tell you about what this thing grants and why no one should ever be able to take it away from you, not even the government. Where are we? If we're there and we're pushing that message and we're fighting the fight, because truth be told, what a lot of the conservative policies make a lot of sense. The reason why people subscribe to these policies that the Marxists, I'm not even going to call them, I'm not even going to disrespect the Democrats and call them Democrats. The reason why a lot of Democrats today subscribe to what the Marxists are talking about is because they're in your face, they're in your school, they're radical, they're all over the place, and now they're the majority because we kept our mouths shut. The moderate, middle of the road stuff doesn't work. Because we're at a point right now where if they're going to be ultra aggressive with their nonsense that we know is anti-science, anti-fact, anti-truth, then we got to go just as aggressive with the truth and with facts, because society is literally depending on it right now.
Very well said, Billy. Very well said. Okay, Billy, I hope you win in 2022. I hope you
get
too,
brother. You too.
Thank you, buddy.
I think you will, though.
Thanks. Well, we'll we ought to go campaign together, right?
Well, maybe you got my number, So.
All right, Billy. I know you've got a hard stop at 8:45 because you've got somewhere to run because you're a busy guy, right? But I love to have you on again. We've got a lot more to talk about. I know, given to our own vices, we could probably talk for like 3 hours, right?
Yeah. Yes. Next time we do talk, though, there won't be a hard stop.
Right. Okay. All right, Billy. Thank you for joining us tonight, guys. If you want to, know more about Billy and his campaign and his great messaging, go to billyprempeh.com. Right. The address is listed there. www.billyprempeh.com. You can also find Billy on Facebook. I believe the official campaign page and your personal page on Facebook is all under Billy Prempeh, right?
And the Twitter
right.
as well.
So Twitter, Facebook, and everything else is just Billy Prempeh.
Mm-hmm. Right? And on Instagram and everywhere else, it's some guy named Bill.
Some guy named Bill. Yep. I love that name.
Not political at all. Yeah. But that's what I am. I'm just some guy. Yeah. I'm just some guy.
You're some guy named Bill who wants to take on the other Bill.
There you go.
Down, and by bringing him down, you'll bring the rest of Patterson and the rest of District 9 up, right?
Absolutely, brother.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Billy. All right. Love you, brother. I will talk to you soon, all right? Thanks.
God bless you, man. Great compliment.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Take care.
All right, guys. That was Billy Prempeh, the star, Billy Prempeh. When he first started running in 2019, right? He was a nobody. He was just some guy named Bill. Now he is a megastar on social media and in the Republican circle. I think he recently went to an event with Kim Klacik, right? And I'm so happy that Bill is running again in 2022. I think this time he will get done what he wanted to finish in 2020. All right, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. Once again, if you want to visit my website that's up and running, you can go to ronaldjosephlin.com. ronaldjosephlin.com. Oh, sorry, there's a bit of a typo there. It's Ronald Joseph Lin is all one word, okay? ronaldjosephlin.com. And, we are live from our official Facebook page every Sunday night at 8 p.m., okay? If you think you have a great story and you want to share, or if you think you would be the subject of a great interview, you can always contact us at realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com. realtalkwithronnie@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/realtalkwithronnie. And one more thing, guys, before I forget, as you know, June 8th is the primary, okay? It's primary time. It's a very important time. And one of my good friends, Joseph Vizo, is running for state assembly in the 36th legislative district. Joe was actually on our show last week. Okay, he was on our show last week. Joe Vizo is a very good friend of mine. He's running for state assembly in the 36th legislative district. However, due to some issues with the ballots, we have to write their names in, right? So when you get your ballot, if you're in the 36th district, or if you know of friends and family who are in that district, you're going to have to write Joe's name in, all right? He needs at least 100 people to write his name in to be on the official ballot. So when you go to your balloting booth, or if you plan on mailing in your ballot, write in Joseph Vizo Jr. Joseph Vizo Jr. And let's get Joe on the ballot to run for assembly in the 36th district. We need great people like Joe fighting for us in Trenton. All right, guys. It's been a pleasure talking to you. You know, we do this once a week. We might open up another slot midweek, right? Because the demand has been very, very high. But until then, I want to see you all next weekend, same time, same place, 8 p.m. on my Facebook page, Real Talk with Ronnie, 8 p.m. live. All right, guys. Have a happy Memorial Day weekend here in Bergen County in New Jersey. It's unfortunately raining this weekend. It's been pouring. So a lot of the great plans for the shore and all that had to be canceled. But it's okay. This is the unofficial start of summer, so we've got the entire summer, right? June 8th is primary day. Primary day, June 8th. Please, please go out there and vote for me. Okay, vote for the entire Republican line. Okay, right down from Jack Ciattarelli down. Okay, we're all on the same line. Jack Ciattarelli for Bergen County. For our county slate, we have Bob Kugler running for sheriff. Bridget Kelly, she's running for county clerk. Simone Zagonis running for surrogate. Me and my running mate Tim Walsh running for county commissioner. So just vote straight down that line, and we will be very, very thankful. Okay, so on primary day, go out there and vote. All right, guys, love you. Good night, and I'll see you next week.